every one of us is born away, right? We all have these things in us. And oftentimes what happens is because we're social animals, we feel that we have to, be a part of the herd. We have to dim parts of ourselves so that we can fit in. People that are special, people who find themselves to be special will diminish themselves. They'll dim their shine so that they can make other people comfortable around them. And what that translates and that becomes is an inauthentic human being.
Yeah.
And then when we run on these programs that are inauthentic, we just have inauthentic programmed lives. And then that turns into an inauthentic programmed marriage. And then that turns into an inauthentic programmed parenthood. And then that turns into a 50% divorce rate. And then scarred and traumatized children. Yeah. And then the cycle continues. And so I see it as, look, I was born specific with a specific set of personality traits, with a specific set of gifts, with a specific set of weaknesses. And there's things about me that I love, and there's things about me that I don't love. But the fact is that I'm me, and there's only one.
And this show is brought to you by our sister company, InvestorLift. Get access to over 2 million cash buyers across the country. Go to InvestorLift.com, put in Disruptors to get 10% off. And if you get value today, please tag a friend below. Share this episode right now. That way we can all grow together. And this is a live show, so ask your questions for Jamil to answer. You ready?
Love it. Thanks for having me, brother.
Hey, man, it's absolutely my pleasure. One of the things we talked about in the past, but maybe we'll bring it up again, is, you are one of the first person that really took me into mentor for wholesaling.
Yeah.
And I say, here and there, like my favorite Zillow lead of all time. Right? And so, at that time, when we first connected, I was a real estate broker that was wholetailing.
Yep.
And you were a hustler, right? So right now you're talking about how important it is for agent outreach, and who knows what good can come from it.
The relationship.
You want to talk about that a little bit?
Of course. I say this, and I mean it, right? If I disappeared from my business and I said, you know what, I sell Keeley, let's just say, Keeley's gone. There's still real estate agents that only work with me. Mm-hmm. And if I only answered those 5 phone calls in a year, I'd make over $1 million.
Yeah.
Every year from just those 5 people. So you think about that, right? You think about the relationship approach to this business model. And I think it's something that you can't get from direct to seller. And, I've made a lot of fun of direct to seller in my ads, but it's not because it doesn't work. It works.
Absolutely works.
It works, and people make it happen all the time. They make a lot of money from it, and it's wonderful. But I've very rarely seen a direct to seller lead ever lead to a 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 10th, 15th, 20th, 100th deal.
Absolutely not.
Where, a relationship like Monique Walker with me, I mean, we've done over 100 deals.
Right.
And we routinely make, $30,000 or more a month together every month. Right. So when I think about that reality, that you create these relationships and these nurturing opportunities just keep coming to you because you do a good job. You provide value, and you're really there to be a solution. And when you do business that way and you treat people in a way that they want to have a relationship with you, life becomes this unfolding of incredible things. And my relationship with you is special, and it's led to so many opportunities. And, the fact that I'm even on this show for the 5th time is incredible. But, I also said it earlier today, Real Estate Disruptors was one of the first podcasts that ever put me on. And nobody knew who I was, right?
Right.
And then all of a sudden I'm on Real Estate Disruptors and people start recognizing me. I remember when you and I were at an event together, a lady came up and pointed at me and she said, "I know you from the TV." And I'm like, well, not really the TV from YouTube, but it was your show, right? She recognized me from that. And that's when I realized, the power of social media and how much you had done for me. Mm-hmm. And I'll never forget it, dude.
Yeah. So we start off again, like I am wholetailing, right? And eventually you run out of money wholetailing.
Yeah.
Right. There's only so much you can wholetail. So you were the one that I was moving all my deals to. And then somewhere along the way, right, we go into the Go Giver meetup, ran by Brandon Simmons, another great guy,
awesome dude
in town. And it was in this environment that even though we were already doing business together, right, I was working with you, Pace didn't want to work with me, but at least he would work with my clients, right, for GC work. But we had, this kind of little thing going. And then when I went to We Live 19, right, for Max Maxwell's event, you and Pace were the first guys like, I'm there.
Yeah.
And I was like, why are you guys coming? Like, to support you. Like,
yeah.
And for me, as a person that doesn't, unfortunately, reciprocate quite the same way, it was kind of mind-boggling to me, but that's cool, right?
Right.
And it led to this whole thing of squatting up.
Right.
And I still hear to this day from other people, like, why can't we recreate this magic in Phoenix?
Right.
So what are your thoughts on that?
I think what we did that was special, Steve, is we all put our egos in the back seat. Every one of us did, right?
Yeah.
And we decided that it was more important to develop a relationship with each other, a friendship with each other, a nurturing of helping each other grow, from batch. Look at like what happened with batch, batch leads. It's this, one of the most incredible and known platforms in real estate for data, right? You look at, you and Real Estate Disruptors and everything that you've done in your wholesale business. And I still tell people, look, if you want to learn how to do sales, there's no one better. There's no one better in the planet that I would ever say can teach you sales than Steve Trang, right? And the facts is that we all really were good at different things, but we love each other. We really do. And when you take money off the table, you take competitiveness off the table, and when you put love in the front seat, something really magical happens. And I think the reason why people can't create it is because they don't know the recipe. And the recipe is love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it sounds super simple.
Right.
So, because like I remember still like, so first of all, thank you for saying that, about the sales training.
Sure.
I genuinely appreciate that. I remember RJ came out one time and he's like, what you guys are doing in Phoenix, I said to do years ago. And everyone kind of blew me off, right? And someone very recently was on the show and he's like, man, if we could just recreate what you guys are doing in Phoenix like we do in Dallas, or what if we could do in Dallas what you guys do in Phoenix? I was like, well, I mean, RJ is trying to lead that effort and he just keeps getting shot down. And the guy's answer was like, yeah, I know there's just too much drama. Tech's like, I don't know why there's drama. There's more deals, I think,
in Dallas,
of course there
is. Of course there is.
Yeah.
There's more people moving there. There's a lot of opportunity. I don't know. There's got to be a reason. There's got to be a reason that what happened here happened. We all flowered and bloomed in this beautiful, magical way. And, maybe it's not meant to happen somewhere else, or yet,
That's true.
Maybe, and other people are going to grow in their own ways and they're going to do their own thing, and God bless everybody. And I hope everyone crushes it. And that's that. But what we had and what we have, unique is the word that comes to mind, right? Unique and very special. So, I mean, I don't even know if it can be recreated, dude.
Yeah. Part of me thinks that's cool. Part of me is kind of sad if that's true, right? So, and for you guys watching, we've talked about some of this stuff before. I just want to kind of quickly go through some of the major conversations Jamil and I have before we talk about the crazy things he's done since he's been on the show 2 years ago. So, somewhere along the way, you guys launched Wholesale Hotline.
Yeah.
That's been an absolutely crazy production.
Yeah.
So talk to me about, and this is the essence, I think, of Squatting Up. So talk to me about, the Wholesale Hotline and what that's done for you as well.
Yeah. So, Brent Daniels used to rent a little space in the Batch office, and he had a tiny little studio in there. And
It wasn't tiny. It was bigger than this.
It was a room, but like, it was great. Not diminishing it at all. But, and, Brent was very well known and is very well known on
Super loud.
Yeah. Super loud and really kind and a really generous and really wonderful guy. Right. And so, no one's really doing like a live Q&A about wholesale. And, I kind of bring up to Brent and I said, hey, why don't we do like a live, or actually it was Pace first. I was like, why don't you and I, do a live Q&A on wholesale? He's like, cool. So we actually sat down. Our first episode was like me and Pace with our cell phones.
Yeah, I remember that.
And we're like, people were calling in. We're like, hello, hi. And then we like put it on the speaker, and then, we actually had little lav mics that we put to the thing. Like, it was so janky. It was hilarious, right? But people loved it. And we're like, man, that was cool. Yeah. That was really fun. And live people called in and we answered questions, and it was incredible. And then, Pace and I realized right away that we needed a third head, somebody else needed to be in there. And of course, we're in Brent's office, and Brent is Wholesaling Inc. He's the Rhino guy, right? So we're like, Brent, you want to be a part of Wholesale Hotline?
No,
he's
officially
like,
the Rhino guy.
The Rhino guy, right? And so he's like, yeah, of course I want to be on it. And so the three of us decide to do Wholesale Hotline, and it's exploded into this incredible movement. And, we can sometimes get 1,000 live viewers on the show. And that routinely then translates into, 250,000 downloads a month, which is like, are you kidding me? Yeah. On a wholesale show, like this little world of wholesale real estate, 250,000 people in a month will download this and listen to what we're talking about.
Yeah.
It's wild, dude.
What do you think that has has done for you guys having
It
that.
did. It did a lot. I mean, it gave all of us an authority as being, real thought leaders in the space. But because we gave and gave and gave and gave, and like this space of information, it's just, we democratized it, right? We said, you know what? This isn't going to be about money. When people join our communities and they pay a check and they pay something to get a part, they're resonating with us and they want to be with the people who are in our tribes, right? We're not withholding information from them. And I think that's what used to happen. I think people used to say, hey, I've got the secret on how to do business, and I'm not going to tell it to you until you pay me.
Right.
And then people paid them, and then they didn't have the secret. Right. And so that's what happened. And that's why the guru space got so, poo-pooed on, and so many FTC lawsuits and so many bad things happened because there wasn't reality there. The people weren't really doing business. Meanwhile, here I am doing 40, 50 now, anywhere between 50 to 80 deals a month.
Yeah.
And that's just my corporate stores, not the 118 franchises I've got around the country. I'm legit. And I'm not holding, and I don't have a paywall for information of how I do it.
Right.
I'm telling people and showing people exactly how I do it every day. And when they join the community and pay a little bit of money to be a part of it, they're in it for life. And they're like, is this for real? Yeah. Like, yeah, it's for real. And why? Why? Because the fact is, we've made a lot of money. I make my money in wholesale. I get fulfillment from watching you win. When I see somebody who's struggling at a 9-to-5, and they come home and they don't have enough time for their kids and they don't have enough time for their wife. And all they want is to spend time with their family. But 8 hours of their day, they're out there trading their soul for $20 an hour. That's hard.
Yeah.
And I know that we have one shot at this life, right? You get one time in this body, one time with these kids, one time with this family. And it's not worth it, man. It's not worth it to trade it for so little. I mean, we sell ourselves down the river for so little that it is mind-boggling to me. Yeah. And I love being a part of people's journeys and helping people get to that freedom. And then watching them, like today, I got a FaceTime from two of my students and dear friends now, Michelle Garabito and Paul Nelson. They travel the world. These two are digital nomads. They get on jets. They fly first class in the pods all the time, just incredible. They were just in Thailand. They spent a month in Thailand. They made $70,000 while they were in Thailand, Astroflipping, right? So think about that. These people are in Thailand. They're doing what I taught them how to do. They're living the dream, When people ask them, what did you do? They're like, that guy. Don't even ask me. I don't even want to tell you. Just go to him. He'll show you what to do, and away you go, right? But then they come to me and then they're like, well, what has he got? Well, I'll show you what I got. Watch Wholesale Hotline, watch my YouTube content. I don't hold anything back. I'm giving you I'm telling you exactly what I say. I'm telling you exactly how often I say it. I tell you exactly when I do it. I tell you exactly what softwares I use. I tell you everything.
There's no secret.
There's no secrets. So then what do we pay? Why does somebody join the community? Well, because think about this, right? If you came into a community where there were live deals, where there were live buyers, and all you had to do was plug in and just start trading hockey cards, do you not think that you could make a substantial more amount of money than you could just doing this by yourself?
Absolutely. So I got to stop you there. Hockey cards. Is this because you're from Canada?
Yes.
Because no one trades hockey cards.
There's baseball cards here?
It's baseball cards here.
Okay, well, let's call it baseball cards then.
Okay, so, going back to the Wholesale Hotline, and even we had a Keegley event, a live event in your office, so we got 4 different personalities, right? I'm including myself as the honorary 4th personality here.
Yes.
So we got Brent, who's like, he motivates you, like, go out there and do it, right? Like he's the only person. He's a
Kool-Aid man. He's run through the wall and make it happen,
He's the only one, like, after watching, he's like, man, I can't wait to cold call, right?
Yeah.
Who says I can't wait to cold call? Well, if you listen to Brent, you can't wait to cold call, right? Am I off base there? Is that about right?
Not at all.
Pace is a way of inspiring you and looking at things a little bit differently, where, I remember someone came to the event and asked a question. It's like, hey, I'm dealing with this, this, and this. And all I heard were excuses, right? Me being, you've kind of mentioned this before, right? The Asian parent or the BS detector, right? These are all the nicknames that Jamil has given me.
Robot is another
Robot's another one outside of here, right?
Yeah.
And to me, I was like, all her excuses. And what I said to him was like, hey, you got all the excuses you get in the world you want. Like, hey, like, just stop trying.
Yeah.
Right? And I know it's really hard and maybe not the best way to be delivered, right? Pace goes on and inspires the guys like, hey, you need to go do this, this, and this. And the guy's like, oh, I didn't think about this. I didn't think about that. I will go do those things. Right. So pace is a way of taking your negativity and giving you energy. Whereas I look at you, I was like, oh, you got all the negativity. Well, if you want to be negative, then like,
see you later.
just fold up shop and get out of here. Right. So before we go to your message, I want your insight, like, what Pace is doing, what I'm doing, and there's no right or wrong. I just want to get your perspective on this.
Well, I was saying this in the interview earlier, right? And I hope you don't take offense to the robot, but I've
embraced this.
It is true, and here's the thing, right? When you talk about a sales trainer, right? Sales, it's an interesting dichotomy because the more charismatic and the more emotionally intelligent you are, the better you're going to be at sales.
Right.
Right. And so when you are learning from somebody who's using high EQ and high charisma and trying to show you and teach you how to be charismatic and emotionally intelligent, and you're not, that can't translate. You can't install that into somebody's brain.
Well, that's why I said like Michael Jordan was a terrible coach for a reason.
Right?
Yeah.
Exactly. However, you, on the other hand, are a robot. Yet you are so technical. You are so good at getting the contract that you can take any potato, install your sales brain into their brain, and they'll be able to do sales. Yeah. Right? So that's what I think. Like, why wouldn't you want to learn sales from a robot? You should, because if that robot can go and close deals, and he doesn't have to warm up to the seller, and he doesn't have to become their best friend, and he doesn't have to mow their lawn, and he doesn't have to do all this stuff, and he just goes in there, says the words, gets the deal, and goes home.
Right.
I'll do that.
Right.
Right.
That's repeatable.
Yes, it is repeatable. And that can be taught.
Right.
Right. And so that's where I think your superpower lies. With Pace, I don't even think it's about he's turning negative energy into action. I think Pace has a magical way of explaining the unexplainable. Creative finance was one of these enigmas out there that people just couldn't verbalize.
Right.
They couldn't put it into words where people understood what they were saying. Everyone wanted to sound smarter than they actually were, right? And so they use all these terms and they wrap you up in all of this jargon so that you do what? You write the check. Mm-hmm. You write the check, you give them the check, and then away they go, right? Well, what Pace did, and he does masterfully, is he takes story and he takes examples and he explains things in ways that really resonate with people where they can see it in real life. And because they can see it happen in real life, in a real life example, through a story, they can relate and do it themselves.
Yeah.
And I think that's Pace's superpower. He's a storyteller. He's one of the most gifted storytellers I've ever met in my life. And I've traveled the country with him, and I continue to. I'm going to go on a book tour with him next week. And he's, of course, my best friend, but he's one of the most interesting humans because his energy level is beyond, like, he's really a robot, right? Because he doesn't have an off switch.
Oh, he does not.
I do, right? So
do I.
And for me, pushing myself into being side by side with a guy who has no off switch, it made me uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Right? It pushed me to work harder. It pushed me to do more. It pushed me to strive for more. And I'll never, ever, 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 ever forget the way that he lit a fire in me because of Pace, I excelled. Because of Pace, I ran when I would have normally walked, you know? And so that's awesome.
His parents named him Pace. We don't know if there was for a reason or not, right? I'm going to ask you one more question before I go to talk about you specifically here. You and I were hanging out one night at Keighley. It was a little bit later, and you paid me, I thought was an incredible compliment. And you said, Steve, you know what I love most about you, Steve? I was like, it's a weird question, but, no, I have no idea. And he said it was the authenticity.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about that a little bit before we move on?
I think, look, every one of us is born away, right? We all have these things in us. And oftentimes what happens is because we're social animals, we feel that we have to, be a part of the herd. We have to dim parts of ourselves so that we can fit in. People that are special, people who find themselves to be special will diminish themselves. They'll dim their shine so that they can make other people comfortable around them. And what that translates and that becomes is an inauthentic human being.
Yeah.
And then when we run on these programs that are inauthentic, we just have inauthentic programmed lives. And then that turns into an inauthentic programmed marriage. And then that turns into an inauthentic programmed parenthood. And then that turns into a 50% divorce rate. And then scarred and traumatized children. Wow. And then the cycle continues. And so I see it as look, I was born specific with a specific set of personality traits, with a specific set of gifts, with a specific set of weaknesses. And there's things about me that I love, and there's things about me that I don't love. But the fact is that I'm me, and there's only one. So I'm going to do it, and I'm going to live it this way. And it's all I can do, and it's what you've done, right? You just said, you know what? I'm Steve, and I'm Steve Trang, and I'm this way. I'm a robot. I'm this, I'm that. I'm not going to tell you I love you. I hate hugging. All the things, right? But yet people gravitate to you because they see what they want to be themselves, which is themselves. Everybody wants to be themselves, but they're being told that it's wrong. They're being told that if you show up you're not going to be a part of the herd. And if you're not going to be a part of the herd, then you're going to be on the outside. And being on the outside doesn't feel good. When you look at Maslow's pyramid, right? It's like, it's all survival on the first 3 rungs. It's like, what am I going to eat? Okay, where am I going to live? Okay, who am I going to have sex with? And then it's like, all right, how am I going to compete? And where am I going to belong? That's there. That's in survival still. But then when you get up, it's like, what's my meaning? Why am I here? And then the top, and it's something about the top of the pyramid that, I was in 6th grade when they taught me the pyramid, Maslow's pyramid of needs. The top of the pyramid is self-realization. It's when you understand the divine exists in you. When you actualize as a human being, you realize that oh my God, I can create. I can create my own experience here. But yet my teacher didn't understand that.
Right.
Who was teaching it to me,
Yeah.
And so I think of this and I say, everybody needs to actualize. Everybody has to realize who they are in this world. And yes, you will stand on the outside of the herd for a while. Yes, you may not be looked at and invited into the crew for a minute. Yes, you're going to feel disconnected for a minute, being authentic. But what'll happen is one day you will shine so bright that everybody's going to see that sun of a human that you are, and they're going to say, how do I be that?
Yeah.
And then your life turns into something. And it's a risk, but the reward is, what else do you want?
Yeah, no. Something we talk a lot very recently is playing your own game, right?
Mhm.
And having to, we don't require this permission, but we feel like we do. And that permission is to be yourself.
Yeah.
Right? Because we feel like we have to fit in, right? For all those reasons that you said. So going back to you now, what do you feel is your message? What do other people see that, help you resonate with them?
Well, I think I've really embodied how not to do it the hard way, right? Like the thing is that I really do try to live in a state of like mental creativity, and I do things in a way that's pragmatic, and I do things in a way that's repeatable, but that will flow to me, and I attract, and I teach other people how to attract, and yes, you have to lay groundwork, and you have to do work in order to do that. Like I can't just say that I'm going to attract everything I want in my life. Well, yes, but I have to do things also to do that. And I have to be specific ways in order to do that. And I actually have to authentically be all the things that I'm saying I am to do that. And when you do that in this like harmonic symphony of amazingness, life becomes this beautiful opportunity for you. Yeah. And it's I think it's true, man. And right now, I can walk out of this studio today and I could pass away, right? I could get into a car accident on the way home. Now, if I was doing this interview right now, and if I wasn't present, if I wasn't here, if I wasn't in my body, if my thoughts were somewhere else, if I was thinking about, my wife or a problem or money or this or that, and I was 50% Jamil. Well, if I died on the way home, would I have been proud of that? Would I have been proud of not being 100% here?
No.
And so every day is a lifetime, and every moment should be one too.
Yeah.
So be there. And if you can be there, then it's the amount of creativity that can come out of you, the amount of insights, the kind of inspiration that you can pull out of yourself in because that's where it all lives, is in the moment. And I can make something out of this now. I can do something with this. But I can't do it if I'm in my head, and I can't do it if I'm depressed about the past, and I can't do it if I'm anxious about the future. I can only do it if I'm here.
Yeah. So mindfulness is something that you've talked a lot about. At one point, you and I were talking about maybe writing a book about it, right? So talk to me.
I still intend to write the Energy of Money book, yeah.
Yeah. So talk to me about, I know you kind of, you spent a minute talking about it, but like, let's dive this into a little bit deeper, right? Like the importance of mindfulness, because you talked about living your life, right? Because you only get one shot, right? That's not meant to quote Eminem, right? But you only get one shot, right? And then the mindfulness, and then you kind of like touch on it, but not really lean on it, was the intent.
Yeah.
Right. So the intent, pragmatism, and mindfulness to live your full life. So can you expound on that?
Yeah. So like, okay, let's take intent and attention. Okay. So when somebody is paying attention to you, ever think about why they say pay attention?
I do now, but let's go ahead and elaborate on it.
Well, it's because it's got value to it. Okay. And it's the only thing we have. It's the only thing you have. So if you're sitting there having a conversation with somebody and they're not paying attention, they're gone. They're in their phone or they're doing whatever. You're like, F off. Like, what are we doing here, right? You pay attention because it's the currency you have inside of you. It's what I have to give you as a human being, other than money, right?
Right.
So when I pay attention to you, I've given you my energy. When I've given you my energy, now I've put all of the creative forces. I put everything that I have on you right now, and I'm expanding you and I'm mixing with you in some way. I am now a part of your energy soup, and that feels good, and that expands and connects, and that creates a relationship. Intent is, why am I doing it? Right? And so when you mix intent and attention together, it's a nuclear bomb, dude.
Right.
Like, that is the most energetic, incredible thing that you can ever put on a creation. So I'm going to make something. Say I want to create a company. I'm going to put my intent, I'm going to put my attention onto that thing, and then it's going to expand. And then that expansion has unlimited possibilities in it, right? And that's what I mean by being that way. And when we're mindful, when we're present, now I can actually put my attention there. Now, because I've come in with an intent to do something, this thing ends up blossoming. And it's not just me. I didn't invent that, right? I learned this. There's people in history, and it goes all the way back from scriptures that you'll find in the Bible to scriptures you'll find in the Quran to scriptures you'll find in the Torah to spiritual texts like the Bhagavad Gita to, the autobiography of a yogi by Yogananda. Like, there's so many examples in history of great human beings who have understood the magic of attention and intention, and then have created beautiful lives. Yeah. And so I'm going to follow what other great people have done and do the same.
And what's crazy is today, right? If you guys can pay the currency of attention and operate with intention, there's no better time ever in history to be alive than to leverage these two things together, right? So I wanted to talk about, you just hit a major milestone and accomplishment.
Yes,
I saw
cool.
the video. It was really,
I was crying, dude. It was a lot. Yeah. It was, and Yahoo picked it up, which was interesting.
Okay.
I didn't realize that was going to happen, but it was what a cool thing. Like Yahoo, right?
Yeah.
I'd never been on Yahoo before, so cool.
Right.
Yahoo.
So talk about this. Talk about what the accomplishment was and what it means to you.
Well, we hit 4,000 community members in Astroflipping, which essentially makes Astroflipping the largest community of wholesalers that exists, right? Which is pretty big, right? And you think about that, there's so many active people. There's nobody coming out there saying, Astroflipping sucks. In fact, it's the exact opposite. They say, man, this man's changing my life. This community is changing my life. I feel like I'm in a family. I feel like I'm a part of something so incredibly magical. Last night, I was on a 6-hour and 15-minute coaching call. Who does that?
Man.
And that was just my Tuesday. I'm going to do something like that on Sunday.
Yeah.
Right. So think about that. I the thing about it, dude, is I love that community. I love them. I love them so much. And there's only going to be so long that I'm going to be able to do this. At some point, and someday, at some juncture in my life, I'll get tired and I'm going to want a different adventure. And I understand that. And my wife knows that. And she's waiting for the day that I make that decision. Right now, she's being super cool.
My wife is also waiting.
Right?
Yeah.
Because we're a couple of planets orbiting each other. And every once in a while we meet, and we have an eclipse, and then it's back to orbiting our worlds again, right? At one time, I want to have it's me and her. But right now, it's this. And I'm putting a lot of love and a lot of intention and a lot of attention into that community. And I'm doing it purposefully because I feel that if I can give enough people the tools that can free themselves from financial slavery, because it's what it is, man. if I can give enough people the tools to free themselves from financial slavery, I'll have made an impact on this planet that when I'm dead, their attention, their prayers, all that will take me, to eternity.
Yeah, man, that's really powerful.
It's real.
So I want to go back to, there was an event, the Family Mastermind. I want to say it's probably a couple years ago because last year's got canceled. It was basically you and Pace, you're talking about the obligation we hold as, gurus, mentors, whatever you want to call it. We're leading people that have given us money to help them change their lives. So you want to elaborate on that message?
Absolutely. We have really seen a shift, right? Even in the guru haters, like they never even talk about us. There's a lot of guru haters out there, but I've never had one put my name in their mouth.
Yeah.
Right? Or Pace's name in their mouth, or your name in their mouth, right? And so there's a reason for it. Is because they see that it's real. They say that these guys aren't there to cash a check and take your money and run. But that's happened, man.
A lot.
It's happened a lot, right? Yeah. And it sucks. It's terrible because somebody went off and believed in you, and then you showed them that it was unsafe to believe in people, that it was unsafe to believe that you could have done something more with your life. You took their dream and you flushed it down the toilet. Right? And then that's just another trauma. It's another reason. It's another excuse for that person to go back to their old life, their old patterns, their old habits. You live back in their familiar every day and then just go do the predictable again and run down the road that's going to lead them to not even being able to retire at 65, to have to be a Walmart greeter. We see what that end looks like.
Right.
It's a sad story. There's a lot of people living that story. In fact, it's not just a lot. It's the majority of people living that story.
It really is.
And it's not how I want to. I have a tool. I've got a tool that gets you out of that. I've got a way to live that gets you out of that. Come.
Yeah.
Let's go. I don't want to do this by myself. I don't. I'd way rather have thousands of people do it with me. And so would you. And
Absolutely.
So does Pace, right?
Yeah.
And let's not say thousands, tens of thousands, millions of people, as many as possible. Let's stop. Let's stop with the foolishness. Let's stop selling ourselves short. Let's stop accepting mediocre.
So one thing that really rung with me when you guys were presenting was like, we got to find the guys who are it's just not working for them, right? And so this is where my inspiration is not so great, right? I'm going to give you every single tool, right? Jamil reaches out to me, not this Jamil, but a different Jamil who's struggling. And he's like, Steve, what do I need to do? I was like, all right, Jamil, it's real simple, right? You got to do A, B, C, D, and E. Go do these 5 things. Let me know if you have any problems doing it, right? And you come back, it's like, all right, how's it going? It's like, well, I haven't done A yet. Like, why not? Well, this, and this. Okay. Give you 3 more things, right? Time block. Let your wife know you're committed to this, right? Maybe either wake up earlier or work later, whatever, right? Check back with me. A month later, hey, how's it going? I haven't done any of those 3 things. At this point, Steve Trang will give up on you.
So here's the problem, okay? So I'm gonna show you something that I learned, and I realized why those people, the ones that get left behind, why that happens. Okay, because what's happening is when you give up on them is because you give them actions, right? And you gave them very pragmatic actions that work. If they took action, if they took those actions, they'd actually get the result that you were telling them they'd get, right? And you know that, I know that, and that's true. The problem is that they didn't change.
Right.
They didn't change. And so it doesn't matter how many actions I give you. If you're the same person doing those actions, it's not going to work.
Correct.
It's not going to work. You need an identity shift. So the reason that the first part of the Astroflipping, course or whatever I can't even call it. It's a flipping. It's a movement. It's a journey, but it starts with shifting your identity. It starts at your soul, dude. When I shift your identity and I moved your identity from this excuse maker, the victim, the greedy, the competitive, when I shift your identity and I help you identify why those things, those survival mechanisms exist in you, and then I give you the opportunity to forgive and release them. And when you put that baggage down, dude, you become so free. You can actually move to those actions.
Yeah.
Because now you've shifted identity. I want to wake up every day and I want to be a version of me that's better than the one I was yesterday.
Absolutely.
Right. And so that's an identity. Every day I have a new identity I have to live up to. Right. And so then I know there's actions I have to take to do that. But unless I shift my identity, I can't get there.
Right.
So instead of trying to work people from the outside in, I'm working people from the inside out.
Yeah.
And it's the reason why the success of our community is like, I'm not poo-pooing anybody's wholesale community. But if you look at the numbers, and we do, you look at the success numbers of our, you take out just the fact that the sheer size of my community is huge. If you take it down and you put it into an average, the success, bro, is like this. Like my next competitor is here.
Right.
In terms of student success. Why? It's not that they don't know what to do. These guys know what to do. They can show you how to do deals. They'll show you how to do deals. They've got the sauce too.
Right.
They're not fake. They're real. Why is the success this and that? It's because I'm coming to their inside and I'm shifting their identity and I'm bringing them out. And that's when they can do the actions. And when that person does the actions, they get a result that's going to be 10x what this guy's going to get because he's still coming at him from the outside.
So can that be done though? I mean, I know that can be done to an extent through, watching videos and so on. How much time are you spending going through that? Because this is something you and I talked about before the show, right? Like I've learned a lot in the last year and a half about childhood trauma and how like the first 8 to 10 years of our lives wire us and program us a certain way, good or bad, we're programmed a certain way, and we spend the rest of our lives undoing the negative programming, right? So how much time are you doing this? Because it's
a lot, bro. There's people. Why do you think I was on a call last night for 6 hours and 15 minutes? Because there's a lot. There's a lot people have to let down. There's a lot of baggage people have to drop. And then yeah, sure, I'll comp this house, and yeah, sure, we'll do this thing, and then yeah, sure, I'll tell you how much the buy number is. But like the fact is that we do a lot of work. We do a lot of this, dude. Mm-hmm. We do a lot of inner work, and you do that inner work, and the other work becomes easy, man. Calling agents, talking to sellers, man, that's a piece of cake.
Right.
Forgetting, the uncle who molested me, that's not a piece of cake. Yeah. Right? Not that I was molested by anybody, but like I'm just saying some people have been, Yeah. People have gone through stuff. People have had really terrible things happen to them. Inexcusable things happen to them. But if they can't figure out how to let that go, they're going to get stuck. And they get addicted to how it feels to be stuck.
Yeah.
And when they get addicted to how it feels to be stuck, when they move, their body starts craving those chemicals that it releases in that addiction, and they go back to it.
Yeah.
And they live in that story. Right. And so I spend a lot of time, dude. I spend a lot of time on that. I spend a lot of time on shifting people's identities. And then when they do, it's just, wow.
Well, I think that's awesome that you're doing that. I actually drew a line in the sand, 2-3 years ago, where I said, if you've never done a deal before, I can't help you. And it sounds kind of crazy. Like, why would a person who sells education, right, sells mentorships, say, no, I won't take your money? And it's for this exact reason. I don't feel like I'm qualified to help you undo the baggage because it's not hard to do deals.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to get yourself out of your own way to do deals.
Right.
Right. And maybe that's a poor choice of words given the conversation we just had.
It's a great choice of words. And I love the fact that you're so real about it.
Yeah.
I love the fact that you're honest with it. And you just say, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that work. I want to do that work because I find meaning in that work. Mm-hmm. I do. I do find meaning in transformation.
Yeah.
I really do. And then the fact that you can make $50,000, $60,000 wholesaling houses with the tools I give you as well, that's pretty neat too.
It is pretty neat.
But when you come out of that and you're like, man, what a bait and switch you did. Mm-hmm. Like I thought I was coming in to learn wholesaling and you made me a whole nother man.
Yeah.
I got baptized this Sunday. Like I cry.
Yeah. Well, and we talk about, I've shared this before, like I've gone to events, 2 days events. And like the first day is like mindset and this and that. And in my head, I'm just like, God, can we just get did they just sell me like a mindset course, right? Like a mindset workshop? Like, I don't want that, right? I want to give me the strategies, give me the tactics. I'll execute. I will figure it out. Give me all the tools. I will execute. I have full faith in my ability to execute. And generally speaking, we're pretty good, not excellent, but pretty good at executing, right? So I'll get frustrated. And it wasn't until years later I realized the importance of what's going on between the ears, right?
Mm-hmm. And in the heart.
And in the heart, right? Like most of the information is already on YouTube. You know, I was talking, I just spent 2.5 days in Prescott with my daughter for a science camp, right? And we were talking about some nonsensical stuff. And I was asking the kid, like, where'd you learn this? Like, I just watched it on YouTube. I was like, man, like, there's a lot of information out there. There's just about nothing you can't learn on YouTube these days. So the what is out there, right? It's really undoing the damage or fixing your mindset.
Yeah.
Is the key here.
Yeah.
That's what you spend a lot of time on.
I spent a lot of time on that. And it's an interesting thing, right? You're right. It's like how you think, but it's also about how you feel. Mm-hmm. I think it's more about how you feel than it is about how you think, because, you know, I learned something from Joe Dispenza. Shout out Joe Dispenza. I spent a week actually meditating with Joe, 40 hours in a week.
Wow.
Right. So imagine what I went through. And that was just the meditations. There was another 20 hours of learning in that, right? What I learned in that time was that it's interesting that 80% of the neurons between the heart and the brain, think about this, okay? 80% of the neurons between the heart and the brain, do you think that 80% of the connections are going from the brain to the heart? It would make sense because it's the CPU of the body, right? Mm-hmm. It's the other way around. Actually, 80% of the neurons go from the heart to the brain. So really what's happening is our heart is controlling our brain, what we think. Right? If 80% of the neural connectivity is from heart to brain, right, then we can do so much more by changing how we feel. Yeah. And when we change how we feel, because we're magnets, I mean, we emit an electromagnetic frequency. Every one of us does. We have a north and a south pole. We have a little field around us. We all have a little field. Mm-hmm. And that little field around us is what attracts things and situations and opportunities and people and, you know, all of that. Yeah. You can adjust that field. You can adjust that field by the way you feel and the way you think. And that field can be positively charged or it could be negatively charged. Now, if it's positively charged, what kind of experiences are you going to get?
Positive.
If it's negatively charged, what are you going to get?
Negative.
Bro.
Yeah. So you just mentioned a moment ago, someone getting baptized on Sunday. Was that like literal or metaphorical?
No, and I'm not preaching Christianity on this thing. It's people get closer to God, like in the process. And you could be Muslim, you could be Jewish, you could be, I don't care, man. You could call it source. It doesn't matter to me. Yeah. But there is something unifying us. And I use this example, okay? Like they say, you know, the whole universe happened from after the Big Bang, which was an explosion, right? Okay. Take an explosion. Okay, you've seen lots of them on television. Mm-hmm. Have you ever seen after an explosion everything became really ordered, or is it chaos? Like chaotic. Everything's all over the place, right? It's just like, you know? All right. So the Big Bang happens and then everything becomes mathematical and ordered. Mm-hmm. What? The sun moves at the exact thing and the exact rotation with the exact speed, and the earth does the exact thing with the moon does the right, and Saturn does this thing, and it's all so ordered in such a way that I don't fly off the earth. Mm-hmm. Bro, there's an intelligence out there, man. Yeah. There's an intelligence out there that we're not tapping into, that people are telling people not to tap into, that we're actually pulling the wool over people's eyes by saying to people, see it to believe it.
So are you finding this, like, you know, the transformation, that is the most fulfilling part of what you do? So the transformation, not doing your first deal, it's not traveling the world, it's not big checks. The most fulfilling thing to you is watching people take a step in a shift in identity.
And then, well, as soon as they do shift that identity, they're off to the races.
Well, of course.
The checks and all the things happen. Right. And they come because they've got the tool to do it. Like wholesale real estate is a great way to make tens of thousands of dollars a month. Yeah. But they shift their identity into doing it.
So that's the most fulfilling part for you, though?
It's massive to me, dude. Because to me, that's like the soul-to-soul connection. Yeah. Right? It's why I do it. And it's otherwise, I don't think that I'd care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had a question here, but I lost it. So somewhere along the way, right, we talked about Wholesale Hotline, but there was Pace and Jamil do America.
Yeah, man.
And then Pace and Jamil are now doing triple-digit flips.
Yeah.
So how did we get into triple-digit flips?
Well, you know, it came from the same it's interesting, right? So Pace and Jamil Do America was what? About collaboration over competition.
Mm-hmm.
And the story of how the TV show came was exactly the seed of that, or the fruit of that seed, okay? So Pace and I are actually competing on a deal. We don't know we're competing on a deal. Ryan LaRue, who is a wholesaler, local wholesaler, he sends Pace a deal and he sends me a deal. And he sends it to me at a price and I say, I'll take it. He sends it to Pace at a price. Pace says, I'll take it. He comes to me and says, hey, I got a guy who will, take it. Can you come up $5,000? Sure. He goes to Pace and he says, hey, I got a guy who'll come up $5,000. Will you come up $10,000? Pace is like, sure. So he goes up $10,000. And then he comes to me, he's like, hey, I got a guy who'll come up $10,000. Will you come? I'm like, come on, dude, really?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what's happening now? I'm like, yes, but this is it, okay? So he goes back to Pace and he's like, I got a guy who'll come up $15,000. Can you come up 20? So now Pace is like, oh, bro, I don't even know if I can do this. So he sends the deal to me because I was helping Pace comp back then, right? Not that he needs the help. At that point, he didn't want to. He'd send it to me probably because he didn't care to, right? And he was gonna use me to dispo it anyways. So he wanted to know what my threshold was to do the deal. So he sends it to me and I'm like, hilarious. You're the guy that I'm competing against here. I'm like, wow. And he's like, really? It's you? I'm like, yeah, man. Like we're both bidding each other up here. I'm like, okay, why don't we just do the deal together? He's like, cool. All right. So I drop out. Pace gets the deal. And, gets the price back to where it needs to be because I'm gone now. And so Pace closes on it, and we decide to do the deal together. So he calls me up, and he's like, hey, I closed on it. Why don't you and Bobby come out, and we'll shoot a YouTube video? And so he goes live on IG. I go live on IG. And we're like, hey, we're going to be at this address. We're going to shoot a video, do a first walkthrough of this house. If you want to join us, come out. 50 people show up. And we walk through this house. And this house is a pigsty. It just also happened to be owned by a police officer. I'm not using any puns here, but anyways, it was a pigsty, and it was the funniest thing because I'm putting on the cop's jacket and there was a mountain of dust and it was just terrible. Anybody can go to Pace's old YouTube or Pace's YouTube and find that it's called The Real Deal, episode 1 maybe even. Anyhow, it's funny, it's great, it's Pace and I doing our thing, and a production company sees it. Mm-hmm. And they're like, these guys are incredible. We need to meet them. So they start emailing me, and I don't respond. They start emailing Pace, and, he responds. And they're like, we've been trying to get a hold of Jamil. He's ignoring us, and, we think you guys are great. You guys are partners? He's like, no, actually, we compete. Even better. Mm-hmm. Can you hop on a Zoom and talk to us about doing a potential TV show? Pace calls me up. I'm like, dude, none of these things are real. Remember, I was in Hollywood once upon a time. I was trying to be a comedian. This is all BS. They're going to try to tell us to pay them $50,000 to do a pilot, and then they're gonna go shop it and blah blah blah, bro. It's just a scam. He's like, no, they say they're from A&E. I'm like, really? So they email us, and it's from @A&E Networks. I'm like, okay, we'll hop on a Zoom. Yeah. So we hop on a Zoom, and there it was. They were real. And a few months later, there's a production company following us around with cameras, and we're on national television.
What kind of doors did that open for you?
I mean, having a TV show is interesting and fun, right? Because it's a lot of work. Don't let anybody tell you it's not a drag sometimes, and it's not hard, and it can get really difficult to do and make a TV show. But, I think a thing that a TV show does for you is it's a massive credibility play, right? You're now in the mainstream. You're now just not only, on YouTube, you're on television, and being on television still is a thing. It's still it's the highest level of media that we've got, right? And so it opens a lot of doors. It basically is the master key to any door I want to open. There were rooms that I could have never gotten into in the past. And now if the email is like, A&E television star Jamil Damji would like to have a conversation with you, it's like, when?
Yeah.
Instead of who?
Right.
Right? So the W's changed.
Mm-hmm. What is the biggest door that's been open for you guys?
Because of the television show, I think the relationship with our producer has been an incredible door. Brad Holkman, shout out to him. He's a wonderful person. It's grown our communities for sure, right? It's helped us just elevate the number of eyeballs we have. Just straight reach and impact is amplified because millions of people watch you. Yeah. So, beyond that, I think we still have our work to do, right? It's not like all of a sudden I'm on a Gatorade commercial. That didn't happen, right?
Yeah.
I don't have, Home Depot being like, hey, Jamil, you're really good at sawing things. Come out here and, show people how to use this saw. No, I didn't get an endorsement deal or nothing like that, but I got eyeballs. And what I do now, because remember now people are paying attention.
Mm-hmm.
It gives me currency, right? Now what I do with that currency, I can now use, and I can use that to impact more lives.
Sure. And then where along the way did Bigger Pockets come into the conversation?
I mean, Bigger Pockets and A&E, I don't think really had anything to do. Bigger Pockets had made a shift. They made a decision to stop poo-pooing wholesale. Because for the longest time, they were like, wholesale is predatory, wholesale is terrible, wholesalers suck. Because, let's be honest, there wasn't a lot of good wholesalers out there. People were teaching it wrong and doing it wrong. All of a sudden, they hear about this guy, this person who says he ethically wholesales. Who the heck is this guy? Well, let's first get him on the real estate show. And let's sit him across from David Green and let David Green hammer him. Because David Green doesn't like wholesalers, right? So we have a conversation. And he's like, damn, I like you. Yeah. I like the way you do business. You're actually, what you're saying makes sense to me, right? Because I look at wholesale as not like going off and ripping off grandma. I think what we need to do is pay 100% of as-is value, and I take my fee from the potential of the guy, from the potential of the person who's going to realize profit from the deal I sold them. That's where my profit comes from, not from grandma. Yeah. And profit comes from investor. I'm selling potential, and I'm taking a slice of that potential for myself. That's the deal. So because I take wholesaling from that approach, Bigger Pockets said, I like him. He's good. And then they're like, well, let's look into his business, because they fact check you. They look you in. They look you up. They look at your, they check you out, because it's Bigger Pockets. It's the largest community of real estate investors on the planet, right? And so they check me out. And they're like, wow, he passes all the sniff tests. Okay, cool. 118 franchises? Jesus, this guy's the real deal. So they make me the subject matter expert, right? So I'm the subject matter expert for wholesale at Bigger Pockets, which is incredible. That
Absolutely, it is incredible.
It's incredible, right? And I'm happy to have that role. I'm happy to have that. But then there was these auditions, and again, pace, man. I'm telling you, the way that him and I work is such a beautiful collaborative thing. Like, there was this show, and they were doing auditions for it, and Pace auditioned for it, and they asked him, do you know anybody that could be a good audition? And he's like, yeah, my buddy Jamil. So he gives my name to them. Pace didn't actually get picked for the show. I did, on the market. Yeah. And I'm on that show now, and it's the fastest growing show on the channel.
Right.
Like, it's, what was interesting is, Bobby and I went to Denver, and we celebrated our 1 millionth download, right? Within our first year, we celebrated our 1 millionth download. A month later, we celebrated our 2 millionth download, right? So the hockey stick has just been incredible, right? Yeah. So that show is phenomenal. Shout out to all the cast members of On the Market. But that came to me because my competitor, Pace, put my name in the ring.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, bro, like, this is what I mean. Like, this is like what you never understand. You never know what you can do when you give. And that's the message I hope anybody and everyone who's watching this today understands, is that stop living in lack. Start finding opportunities to give to people. Start giving to people selflessly. Start looking at people's plate and seeing if they have enough on it, not how much they have on it. And when you live life that way, things will change for you.
Absolutely. And, you talk about how Bigger Pockets for a long time has had a negative, perspective on wholesaling. So I remember when I was on the show a couple of years back with Brandon Turner, when he was still running it, and David Green, and we were talking about it. They're like, man, like, we really like your perspective. Like, how come, like, you guys aren't, like, how come we're not talking more wholesale? I was like, because you guys don't like us? They're like, no, we have no problems with wholesale. I was like, really? Because, like, your forum,
it's pretty clear here. Yeah.
Pretty anti-wholesaling.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we had a really good episode. And they're like, yeah, we should have you back. And then haven't heard anything since. But, it is what it is.
It is what it is, yeah.
But yeah, I want to make sure we get to the audience's questions. So right before we do that, let's take a quick break, and then we're going to answer the audience's questions. Your sales are dropping, but you don't know why. You're even getting frustrated with your sales team. Join us on this webinar to find out what it is exactly that's killing your sales. Learn the secrets to achieve sales in any economy and increase your sales right now. Close more deals. In this webinar, Ren Bartlett and I are going to be talking about what might be killing your sales before you even hire a good salesperson, KPIs and metrics that you need to know, and how to ensure your salespeople are hitting it, and how to get consistent sales revenue so that you are never, ever in this position again. Go to disruptors.com/what's killing your sales, or click the link below to join our webinar on April 28th. All right, so welcome back. Let's go into the audience's questions. So first question on YouTube is from Tim Turner. What KPIs are you using for text blasting? Well, I guess, do you guys text blast right now?
Yeah, you use a system called Astroflipping. It texts agents. Typically, you want to have anywhere between 150 to 200 text conversations as possible a day with real estate agents, and that can lead to roughly 50 landed conversations. So that's the KPI that I try to go by.
Okay, so how many conversations per day are you having per follow-up? So for every 3 follow-ups, how many conversations?
For every 3 follow-ups?
Or I guess conversations to follow-ups. What, do you guys have a preferred ratio?
I follow up until somebody tells me to stop, right? So, and even then, we give them 6 months, and then we might follow back up. But because we're dealing with mainly agents and other professionals, right? So I'm not talking to people that are on the do not call list. I'm never calling homeowners, So it's a different situation, different legality for me.
It's different dynamic.
Yeah, different dynamic altogether. Yeah.
Yeah, and B2B, there's no DNC list.
Exactly.
Yeah. Marcellus on YouTube, how would you go about wholesaling houses on the MLS in a crazy market like SoCal?
I think it's actually a limiting belief that you think the market in SoCal is super crazy. In fact, it's softened really quite a bit. It has softened a lot, and agents are hurting over there right now. And if you can talk to an agent and really just get right to the brass tacks and say, look, I've seen this house has been sitting on the market 60 days. It's not moving. I want to ask a question. Is your seller really motivated?
That's it.
And then hear what they have to say.
Yeah.
Of course they are. Of course. Why would they have listed the house? Okay, well, because it's not selling. So there's only one thing that's not selling it. It's priced. It's overpriced. Now, look, I'm a buyer. I'm a legit buyer. I can give you a number. It's not the number you're listed at. I promise you that. But there's a number this house trades at. I'm going to go back, I'm going to do my research, and I'm going to come to you with the highest number I can pay. And if that makes sense, will you represent me? And we'll see if we can make the deal happen.
Yeah.
So I give the agent, the incentive of dual representation, which is pretty good for a lot of agents, right?
Especially if you're hurting right now.
Secondly, I'm coming to them with the reality, right? Your house has been on the market 60, 80, 90, 120 days. It's not selling, right? So let's really get to the reason why. Its condition sucks. You're overpriced. That's what's wrong, right? So let's fix that. We get to the right number and we'll do a deal.
Right.
So that's how I do it. I think if you feel that SoCal's a crazy market, you're looking at the wrong houses, there's a lot of opportunity.
There was a gal who spoke. I was at your event for Astroflipping Mastermind. It was an incredible honor. Thank you for allowing me to come on there. There was a gal that spoke after me, and she talked about the same thing, right? And she goes through like her model and this and that and how she presents it and everything else. Remind me again, was she in California?
I've got a lot of Californians doing really well.
Yeah.
I've got people in some of the toughest markets smashing it, right? We're talking like the Pacific Northwest. We're talking California. We're talking Oregon. Like, people are doing incredible business in markets that everybody, bro, I've got so many Astroflipping students crushing it in Phoenix where Keegley's headquarters is.
Yeah.
Getting deals that I'm not getting, right? The whole concept of it, the scarcity mindset that it's hard, it's too much, it's too competitive. That's just an excuse. It's an excuse not to do it.
Yeah. Ryan Zolan,
what's up, bro?
A good friend of ours, says, YouTube changed my life and thousands of others. Astroflipping is incredible. 10 out of 10 would recommend for others to join. So
thank you, bro.
Incredible recommendation there from our good friend Ryan Zolan. David Castillo on Instagram. What's the meaning of life? And that normally can sound like a silly question, but I think really relevant today.
Yeah, I think the meaning of life is for you to find your purpose and then share it.
Mm-hmm. That's it. So, what are some actionable items for someone to figure that out?
I mean, first you got to get real with yourself, right? You got to look at, what are my gifts? Like, what was my purpose is in basketball.
Mm-hmm.
you know, I had to get real with myself. I like to use this exercise where I say, go look at a baby picture of yours. I put one up on Instagram the other day, right? And go look at a baby picture of yours, and who did that baby want to be?
Mm-hmm.
What did that little kid, when you were a young kid, like what were the things that used to make that kid smile? And then like really go back to that essence of that young, unlimited thinking human being. And then start to develop a new story about your gifts and what things are you really good at? What things like mean something to you? And when you can find things that mean something to you and you can find enjoyment in doing them, then you can actually create something from that. And if that becomes enjoyable for you to create it, and then you can share that with other people. I mean, what else would you want?
Yeah. Well, it goes so much in line with what you were saying. You only get one shot on this planet.
Yeah.
Right. It's actually something that Paul Sparks and I talk a lot about on the Whale Club. And it's that figuring out what your game is, knowing who you are, knowing your superpowers, and being very clear on your purpose and why, and then living a life as close to that as possible. Because you don't like the words we say is the biggest risk in life is not living the life that you want. Right? Like, what was the point? What was the point of waking up? What was the point of brushing your teeth, running a day? And at the end, when you go to bed every night, you're like dreading the next day.
I mean, and the sad fact is there's like, bro, it's so many people living that.
Yeah. It's
so many people, really good, genuine, like humble and loving human beings that are living in that because that's just what they've been told. They're just doing what they've been told.
And that's one of the things, for us, our mission, right? We talk about creating 100 millionaires, but truly the metric we quote on the show is 100. Internally, there's actually no number, right? It's just to create millionaires. And millionaires is just a way to measure how many people have been able to live a life free of bonds, right? Free of obligation, and can actually look forward and enjoy what they do every day. I get in trouble because I don't really enjoy vacations, right? Like, I feel like when I'm on vacation, I kind of go through the motions. Like, I have to be enjoying this, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like every day is a vacation.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so, like, that's what you're saying, what I'm saying. We say it slightly different ways, but we want to help as many people get out of feeling this obligation and dread and living a life that finding your true purpose and sharing it.
That's it. That's the meaning of it, isn't it? Because like, don't you feel free?
Feel free if you feel fulfilled.
Me too.
Yeah. So thank you, David, for that question. Marcella's on YouTube. How many markets can you do in Astro Blaster software?
You're typically limited to a couple, but if you message support and feel that you're needing to move or change, we'll take care of you.
And then John Robinson on Facebook says, "Thank you, Steve Trang, for introducing me to Pace, who introduced me to Jamil, who introduced me to Brent Daniels." So
awesome,
right? It's this circle that we've talked about, and what we, again, that magic we were able to create years and years ago. YouTube Hung wants to know, how long do you suggest to really give wholesaling a shot when you are a father of two who already works full time?
I mean, until you hit, dude. Why do you want to give yourself a due date?
Yeah.
Like
put an expiration
date
on your dreams.
Yeah, why are you gonna say like, okay, at this many days I give up? Go until you go.
Yeah.
That's the reason why when somebody's in a part of my community, they never leave. Mm-hmm. We don't have a time limit. A lot of these things, they've got like 6 months and then bye-bye. Mm-hmm. It's you're an Astro for life. Yeah. Right? And you always are welcome to come onto the calls. You're always welcome to be a part of the community. You're always welcome to come hang out, be in it, I don't think that everybody's going to get it right in the same amount of time. I've got people who come in and they get a deal done. They snap, $50,000 in a few weeks. I've got people who come in and it's taking them 6 months. Everybody's different.
Yeah.
Right? Because they got different things going on in their life. They got different hours available of the day. They got different, stressors and factors that are, creating their situation in reality. But the fact is that if you keep going and if you never quit and if you really just keep knocking on the door, eventually it's going to open.
Yeah.
And then when you walk through it, you might just be on the other side of everything you ever wanted.
Yeah, absolutely. Lotto on YouTube. What marketing advice do you have for people now that you didn't have a year ago?
I think right now, I wouldn't be really bullish on fixing and flipping, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
I think that you can buy some really good deals though. So right now, what I've been doing a lot of is buying and holding. In fact, I was never a big buy and holder. I've never been known as somebody who buys and holds, but I have been buying and holding. In fact, I'm buying up my neighborhood where I live. I'm buying up $2 million houses for $1 million, and I'm renting them out for like 10 grand a month.
Yeah.
And I'm only a handful of houses away before that becomes 10, and then I'm making $100,000 a month on my passive income, and then I can wake up and look at my wife and say, "Are we done? I don't know. Maybe not."
Yeah. It's hard to say. It's hard to say because I think that's one of the challenges we have, right? As entrepreneurs, is when is enough, and we can quantify it, and we can say, like if I can get this much passive, I can do everything I want to do. But I wonder if we get to that passive number,
if you'll actually stop. I don't know if I will. Natalie says there's no chance I'm quitting. But she's also really like the most supportive and incredible woman in the world, right? Like she doesn't ask me to. She always says, "Listen, honey, you're on your trip and I'm on mine. And what I love about you is that you don't ask me to be on yours, and I love that I don't want you to be on mine, and you're not trying to be. So we can continue doing what we're doing and loving each other. Love is a funny thing. I had a student on the call yesterday. She was so mad at her husband because he wasn't being supportive, and then she was doing all the work, and then also while she's doing all the work, he's not working right now, so he won't even help her with the stuff in the house. And she was just going on and on and on about it. And I said, "Okay, well, look, you love him?" She's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Okay. Well, I think what you think love is an exchange of benefits. You do this, I do this. That makes me happy. You make me happy. I love you. I love you." That's not love. Love is not an exchange of benefits.
Yeah.
Love is unconditional. Love is you do whatever the hell you want, and I'm going to love you anyways. That's what it is. And if you don't have that, then you've got an exchange of benefits, not love.
Right. How was that received?
Actually, her phone froze, and I went on to the next question.
Yeah.
I didn't get to hear it, but her husband heard it, and I don't know if he hit leave or end, or I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
Look, it was what it was. I gave the realest answer I could have given.
Well, I mean, I completely agree with you.
Yeah.
Right? Like this, it was something I learned a long time ago, right? Stephen Covey, like, hey, I don't like this about my wife. Love her anyway. But she does this, and this. Love her anyway. What about this? Love her anyway. And eventually, it'll work out. Or if it doesn't, you've put everything out there. You've done everything possible.
Yeah.
Right? And if it doesn't work out after you've done everything possible, then it is what it is.
Yep.
Yeah. Let's see here. Lahada says calm glasses, Jamil.
So what?
The calm glasses.
Oh.
Yeah. Is Keegley available in Illinois?
I don't believe we have a franchise right now in Illinois, but I got a lot of Astroflipping students in Illinois that you could JV with and do deals with. So send me a DM and I'll connect you to them.
Yeah. And then you've got a book coming out.
I do.
Talk about it.
The first wholesale book ever published by Bigger Pockets. That'll be in a Barnes and Noble. Can you believe? I want to just say this, okay? Pace and I were the first national television show that ever showed a wholesale deal being done on television. And now I get to be the first person that ever has a wholesale book that's going to be in a Barnes and Noble.
Yeah.
That's incredible, right? So Bigger Pockets gave me the opportunity to write the wholesaling book. So you can pre-order it right now. I'd love it if you did. biggerpockets.com/wholesale book. Check it out.
There you go. Perfect. biggerpockets.com/wholesale book. So I want you to think about some last thoughts you want to leave the listeners with. I'm going to make a couple of quick announcements and then we'll get right back into it. So guys, we do have our webinar coming up. Actually, let me go ahead and skip that. Cut that out later on. We do have our sales leadership event coming up. If you guys are interested, if you guys have a business where you got salespeople and they're not working the way you thought they should be working, more often than not, what we've found is because of the way you lead them versus of the salespeople. So if you're not getting the kind of results you want from your salespeople, you got to figure out what are the things that you're doing that are working, but more importantly, some things that you're doing that aren't working. So if you want to learn how to lead your people effectively so that you can have consistent, predictable revenue, go to disruptors.com/sales leadership, and maybe we will see you in June. And then if you got value today, it's a little bit different, but it's a conversation I dearly enjoy with my good friend Jamil. Hit the subscribe button right now and make sure you tune in next week where we got Eddie Speed coming in to be talking about creative finance. All right. Finance. You got to say it like Eddie does.
Yeah,
all
finance.
Right. So what are some last thoughts you want to leave everybody with?
If you're watching this right now and you're like, man, I kind of feel like maybe I have been trading myself in. Maybe I have been letting myself down. It's okay. It's okay. Look, everybody starts somewhere, right? Mm-hmm. And it doesn't mean because you've been in this pattern of giving up on yourself or just like continuing habits and thinking life is going to be different, but you're doing the same thing. That's insane, right? It's okay that you just stop. It's okay to make a decision to say, you know what, I'm going to break the pattern of that old me. And I'm going to choose something different today. I don't know what that different thing is. It might be, I'm not going to eat this thing today. Maybe I'm not going to smoke weed today. Maybe I'm not going to have this drink today. Maybe I'm not going to, be a D-bag to my wife today. Maybe I'm going to do this one different thing today. But choosing a new thing and then doing that again, and then doing that again, and then doing that again creates a new you. And you do that enough times and you stack up those little wins over time. A year from now, you're going to be a completely different person. And that person could have such a different reality. Because I look at versions of me, right? And there's been a few, right? There's a fat one. There's there's lots of beards. I've had a lot of, different beards and people have comments about them. Thank you, YouTube. But there's versions of me, right? And each of them have had different philosophies, different personalities, different perspectives, and different growth. And, the thing about being wise is like wisdom is a memory without emotion. That's it. Mm-hmm. Wisdom is a memory without an emotion. So now that I can remember this happens and it doesn't create an emotional response in me anymore, now I'm wise to it because I'm not mad about it anymore. So find out what it is right now that's you're addicted to, that you're holding on to, that's keeping you down, that you're what piece of negativity or what piece of baggage or what are you holding on to right now that's stopping you from doing the one thing? And then put that thing down and do that one thing. And if you can do that over and over again, watch your life change.
Yeah, that's so deep.
It's real.
How can someone get a hold of you?
You can find me on my YouTube. It's youtube.com/Jamil Damji. On IG @jdamji.com, or I might just pop up in your Facebook feed in an ad. So click the link.
Yeah, if you guys have been on my YouTube channel and you have not seen Jamil, I don't know what you guys are paying attention to.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Love
Always
you,
a pleasure, my friend.
You too, man. Thank you for having me back.
See you guys later.
Peace.
Shout out to Steve Trang. Jump on the Steve Trang. We real estate disruptors.